Hi, here we are, the Women's Wealth Revolution, Spirit Money Impact, Google Hangout, excuse me, for Friday, September 18th. And I am thrilled that you are here, and I'm thrilled for our panel. We have had some technical difficulties with a few, and so we are small but mighty. And I am thrilled that my co-host here, Sarah Medlicott. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Yes, and we are so privileged. Actually, I'm thrilled that we have Teresa de Grosbois here with us, and we can really hone in on her message because it is absolutely brilliant. Welcome, Teresa.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as you all know, we created this global event to awaken and inspire and educate women around the world when it comes to building a business and making an impact and creating the income that they are excited to have. And so with that, we were excited to actually have a live interaction. So welcome everyone that is here listening. So Sarah, did you want to jump in before we dig into some questions and conversations?
No, I just want to let how this is going to work. I mean, it's just so fun because it's been so, today especially, there's a few people that are going to try and pop out of a conference they're in, so they actually might be joining us in just a little bit. So it's going to be like a surprise show. Otherwise, it's going to just be the three of us having a great show, answering everyone's questions. So I just want to mention how today can work is to please pop any questions you have for us into the chat box, and we'll be sure to see those, and then we can ask our lovely speaker, and then we can answer your questions right away. So please, if you have a question for us about any of the interviews you've seen or heard so far, please go ahead and pop a question into the chat box below this video, and then let us know what your questions are.
Perfect. So let's jump in, shall we?
Okay.
We don't have as much time as I always would like, so I would love to jump in. And Teresa, we'll start with you. Go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Well, hi, everybody. It's great to be here. Where to start? Geez, I am passionate about influence. Influence isn't a conversation we often see people get passionate about, but I really do believe that influence is the foundation of all change that happens on our planet, whether you're wanting to influence business success or change a political agenda or change the minds of your teenagers. You need influence, and a lot of times we think of influence as just a thing people have. I teach it as a skill set that you need to learn. So I'm very excited to be here and share that with you today.
And we have to ask you about your upcoming book, which is, I see right behind you. Please tell us a little bit about that to set the stage here.
My new book is called Mass Influence, The Habits of the Highly Influential. And it's really intended for everyday entrepreneurs and business leaders and, well, in fact, everyday heroes that just want to really cause something in the world and understand how to do it in a one-to-many or a more influential context. What are the rules of the game that you really need to learn?
Well, and that's so fantastic because as women and as pioneers and as entrepreneurs, the more influence we can wield, the better off we'll all be, wouldn't you say?
Couldn't agree more, yeah.
Like if we want anybody to have influence, it would be women entrepreneurs and the women change makers, correct?
Yeah. I really do believe that entrepreneurs are the thought leaders of this day and age. They're the ones who push out new ideas and new ways of thinking and are really the tipping point and the tipping edge of society. So when you can reach the entrepreneurs, you can have some pretty massive positive shift in the world. Absolutely. And so, Sarah, if you want to get a word in here edgewise, please just jump in because I love talking to Teresa. I interviewed her for the summit, and I just think she's a wealth of information.
I know, it's all good.
I'll take a breath. And essentially, and I'll ask you too, Sarah, what is the vision that you hold for this next wave of influence and entrepreneurship and women specifically? What do you see coming down the pike?
I really do believe that we're right now living in the time that we will look back on in history as the biggest shift humanity's ever seen, And not only the shift in moving to a digital age, when you think of what's happened in the last 30 years, it's been massive. But there's also a shift in, a lot of people call it the consciousness of humanity in that, to kind of sum it up in a nutshell, we're starting to realize that we don't have to be ruled by our thoughts. We can control our thoughts. Novel notion, woo, And as a result, everyday average people are starting to realize that they can have a significant impact on changing the way others think, changing the world, changing their community, whatever it might be. The average person, most humans, are hardwired with a lot of inner conversation that would stop us from becoming influential. So the fact that we're now in this day and age learning new ways to start to recognize that A, we have an inner conversation that we need to look at, self-limiting beliefs, and B, that we can actually get on top of that and change that, is actually making a profound difference for how rapidly we can change as a society and as a values-based planet.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly with everything you're saying, Teresa, and I just want to add on that I think for women especially, there are so many more women really diving into entrepreneurship and recognizing that there is a way to do it by stopping some of the older habits we have, that we get to be leaders in generating a new paradigm for business that doesn't burn us out, because as women, we kind of have a natural ability to multitask and to do this multi-focus thing, and that's really, we were talking about this on Wednesday, that's not where we're headed. We're actually, it's not about multitasking, it's not about having our energy in 16 places and then trying to burn out. It's about collaborating, being very connected to our deepest intuition and to our feminine gifts, so that we can really tune into what matters most and then move forward with a crystal clear vision, so that we have real impact in the world. And I'm seeing some exciting ways that's happening. We're seeing it happen through women really claiming and owning their own power in new and different ways, like stepping up and being like, I do have a voice, I have a message, and I have value. My message has value in the world, and I know that the right people are on their way to me, and I just need to get my voice out into the world so they can hear me. And that it's happening through collaboration. It's happening through just all kinds of new avenues that are kind of non-traditional in my mind from what we've seen. A lot of how women in the past have really tended to have to kind of rise up and be the man in their business. And I don't want to make this a gender thing, because it's not about men and women. It's about accessing and understanding that we have both the masculine and the feminine within us. And oftentimes, to get by in the world and in the business world, as women, we've really had to rev up the masculine traits of like, get into action, go, go, go. But unfortunately, that's had an impact on our health and well-being. So we're pulling away from that, and we're really tuning in, and part of the focus of this event is to bring in to me, what the greatest source is of all, which is spirit, and have us be really aligned with spirit, so that we can generate from a limitless supply of resource of that spirit, that connection to whether it's spirit or God or the universe, but like this complete energy that is available to us at all times, that can replenish us and renew us, so that then we can move forward in our daily lives, facing all those tasks and actions we have to do with a sense of grace and ease.
I love what you're saying, if I can just build on it.
Yeah. Please.
If you look at communication theory, just to kind of merge communication and spiritual thought, one of the most powerful demographic in the world is, in fact, women who are educated, ages 35 to 55. They're known in communication theory to be the thought leaders of society. If you can track what that demographic is doing, you know where society will be in 5 to 10 years. And women entrepreneurs tend to be the leaders of that group. That's why I love working with women entrepreneurs. And I specifically wrote this book with them in mind, because they are the most heart-centered group. And one of the things that is so foundational, one of the critical habits of highly influential people, is that they are highly authentic and doing what you love, coming from a place of heart and inner knowing is such an important piece of authenticity.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of different definitions of authenticity out there. Here's mine. Your inside voice is saying the same thing as your outside voice.
I know.
And women entrepreneurs get this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do what they love, and they do it in such a passionate way that it's deeply authentic. That's why so many women entrepreneurs are doing so well inside the influence game, because they just intuitively get this.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you, Teresa, in your book, and your book is so perfect for this topic. Are there men and women in the book that you studied?
Absolutely.
And so I assume so, because I know in your groups as well. So what do you see to be the differences?
Between men and women, you know, the differences aren't that great, actually, because there's a lot of very heart-centered men out there.
Absolutely.
And, you know, the reality is some of the best examples of influence come from some of the male leaders of our time. You know, if you look at Martin Luther King Jr., for example, like, what does it take for a 28-year-old fresh out of Bible college to become globally iconic, right? And so really there is examples that are equally relevant to men and women. But one of the key distinctions you often see with men is men tend to measure success based on money. In fact, they're quite shocked when they realize women don't. Not that women also include money as a measure of success. I'm not saying that women exclude money, but women tend to focus more on more heart-centered ideals like connectedness and relationship and impact on the world. And money is just one of several measures that women use as to whether or not they're successful. And interestingly, in the influence game, those other measures that women use tend to sometimes have them fall into and find this game more intuitively than men often do. The one place that men often do well in the influence game is if they are men who love money, then that is authentic for them. Like, you know, Donald Trump is a great example. You know, the rules apply whether you're someone that people admire or not, right? and the reality is, I might disagree with much of what he teaches. In fact, truthfully, the man repels me, right? And at the same time, he makes no bones about saying he loves money. It's his passion, therefore he pursues it. And he's very much call a spade, so he's highly authentic, which helps him become highly influential.
Yes.
So,
yes.
You know, interestingly, when you look at influential people, often those, you know, that have ideals that we don't necessarily agree with are the ones that can become influential the most easiest, because they've got nothing in their way from being authentic. You know, they're call a spade kind of people. So one of the reasons I wanted to write this book was I wanted the everyday conscious, you know, everyday heroes and entrepreneurs to be able to get that, you know, mass influence is just a slightly different game than what we've been taught, and it really is nothing more than learning a set of habits and rules and knowing the mistakes that you've got to avoid.
So let's drill down for the women entrepreneur who's listening today, and let's map this global concept to the day-to-day of a woman entrepreneur trying to build business, make a bigger impact, and make more money. What is influence in that container, and how should she maximize it?
Well, let's start with one of the biggest basics, because it's also a key principle that many business experts talk about, which is solve a big problem for the world. You know, highly influential people do something that others deeply care about, and they do it in a very specific way, right? So we're getting a little bit of echo on the line here. Is that?
We are.
Well, we just had our friend join us, Lynn Schulte.
There she is. Lynn got on.
Yay! Hello.
I'm so.
We're thrilled you're here.
Hi.
I'm going to have Teresa. Welcome. We'll have you introduce yourself in just a sec. Teresa was saying something fabulous for women entrepreneurs.
Yeah, now I have to think where I am. It's so good to see you.
Go ahead, Teresa. Go ahead.
So, you know, really, they tackle big problems, but they do it in a specific way that people can wrap their head around. You know, Martin Luther King Jr., for example, you know, he may have stood for racial equality, but he did it by taking on the Montgomery, Alabama bus system. It was a very specific initiative that he dove into to take a stand for that. You know, we've got a real-life example of this going on as we speak. Watch what happens this month with the Digital Bra. Go to thedigitalbra.com. It's run by Judy von Niekirk out of the UK. If you don't know Judy's story, Judy's a major powerhouse in the women's empowerment movement in London and Europe. She's a survivor of one of the most horrific incest stories you'd ever hear. Her father literally kept her prisoner as a child. And she recovered from that so spectacularly that she's now a major powerhouse for women's empowerment. And one of the things that drives Judy crazy is that our generation of women think it's okay to put ourselves in pain for the name of beauty and being sexy. Like, don't even talk to me about bikini waxing. We wear shoes that hurt. We wear bras that hurt. In fact, 80% of women complain their bras hurt. And cancer researchers and chiropractors both cite constricting, underwire, or poorly fitting bras as a major health concern, right? So Judy has invented the digital bra. It's a little app you can scan and download on your smartphone. I'm wishing I had my phone here to hold up. But basically, you just scan it around your body, and you can order a custom-fitting bra. And she'll be launching it on Kickstarter in the next couple of weeks. I'm like, I can't wait to watch this.
We will
I'm telling people about it because this is a live example you can watch of somebody who does the influence game right. She is highly authentic in her message. She stands in a really big problem in a very specific way that people can wrap their heads around. And she's been such a contribution to other influential people inside the women's empowerment movement that she's got literally hundreds of awesome people who are like cheering her on, saying, "Go, Judy! I can't wait to buy my digital bra." I'm like suddenly I notice how much my bra hurts, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And I expect that we will see a massive epidemic around this woman's business, and I'm willing to stake my reputation on predicting that.
Well, we're happy to push out that information, pardon the pun, right? Push that. Fantastic. What a great example. Okay, I have to shift over to Lynn. Lynn,
I know. Welcome, Lynn.
Please,
Thanks so much.
Please introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are and what you do, and then we'll fold you in the conversation here.
All right, great. So my name is Lynn Schulte, and I am a women's empowerment coach. I'm actually a women's health physical therapist for 25 years, and I have been helping women connect into the power of their pelvis to help them own their greater power. Yeah, I know. Help them own their power and their sensuality, their sexuality, their femininity, and helping them to bring that to their businesses and to their wealth in their life. It's all, the pelvis represents how much you can hold in your life. And so,
this is what I love about what Lynn does, much like the digital bra friend of ours. Standing in the pelvic bowl and down from the rooftop. And that's what you're doing. It's so unusual. But having worked with you, Lynn, it is incredibly powerful. So you definitely empower women entrepreneurs. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you, Lynn.
And if we can actually, jumping on that, Lynn, like, because of this incredible body of work that you do, like, what do you see are the trends ahead for women entrepreneurs, given the magic that you create with women? What do you see as the future for what's possible for women entrepreneurs?
I really see women awakening and owning, you know, and really stepping into their power. And knowing that they have this power and potential within them. That's what I get so excited about, is when I see women who are really owning this power within them. They're unstoppable. And so I really think that this, you know, we're just on this upward trajectory of women just really stepping into the spotlight and owning who they are, what they have to share with the world, and the world is going to change dramatically in the next 5-10 years. I feel it.
This is such a great segue to this question that just popped up on the screen. And I know Teresa and Lynn have great answers for this. Here's this brilliant question. Thank you, Anonymous. We don't know the name. I'm going to quote it. I have a major conflict, she says. One part of me wants to be taken care of by my knight in shining armor, and the other part of me wants to shine with an amazing business. And I know this sounds strange, but I feel the more I go for a business I love, the further my relationship goes, the further away her relationship goes. How does she deal with this inner conflict? This is a brilliant question.
Such a good question.
Right?
I love that question.
Right? I know.
Yes.
And I feel that we can have both. We really can own both, and it's just a matter of deciding, you know, that's the masculine and that feminine energy that all women have within us. That feminine just wants to be cared for and taken care of, and let me tell you, women, guys want to do that for us. Yet that striving, driving, I'm gonna build my business is that masculine energy. And so when we're doing our work in the world, we're more in our masculine. And what we need to remember is we need to step back when we are in partnership with our partners to fall more into that feminine energy and to allow it. And so it really is that fine balance of, yes, when I'm doing my work in the world, I can be in my masculine, and when I'm in my relationships, I can allow my feminine to flow.
That's beautiful, Lynn. Thank you. And this reminds me of a recent blog post that I did about having it all. It's like, can women really have it all? And I think that it is possible to have it all. And I think there's a lot of kind of inner beliefs and inner circuitry that we as women I invite us all to rewire, and like working with someone like Lynn, that's a great way to do that rewiring, but recognizing that there's typically some kind of this inner conflict you're having is standing upon some hidden beliefs or some unconscious or not so unconscious beliefs. Think about, okay, can I really have, you know, my marriage, my motherhood, and a running business? I'm in that inquiry all the time, and it's like I catch myself. That can all happen later, but it's absolutely a false belief, because when you really tune into your deepest pleasure, your deepest joy, and you stir that up and you come from that true innate desire within yourself, you'll see that, like Lynn said, you can have the support and the vision. You can be in that masculine drive and excitement from that place of being fulfilled, and you're actually going to have greater results in your business, right? So I believe you can have it all. It's about clearing those false beliefs, getting really clear on what you want, and then putting healthy boundaries around your time and your energy so that you can include the activities that you really want into your life. Because I don't know about you guys, but I used my business as a way to stop myself from really enjoying relationship. And I caught myself in that, and I thought, oh, I actually get to have it all here. So I need to actually stop work at a certain time of the day and plan out activities where I go out with my friends and I be in environments where I can go have fun and meet men, right? So it's include the right boundaries in your life so that you can actually enjoy all good things that you want to be enjoying in your life.
Teresa, have you
I
found...
so want to jump in on this.
Go ahead.
You can tell I'm like, oh, I love what you ladies are saying. You know, I really do believe that as women, we are in a really tough period of our evolution here, because we've got 10,000 years of genetic selection fighting against 60 years of women's liberation, right? And we don't always know what we want. How do we expect our poor men to figure it out, right? And I find that really the key here is, you know, your man wants to be your hero. He is hardwired to be your hero. And the only solution to this as a woman entrepreneur is to have some really vulnerable conversations with your partner about when you need him to be the man and look after you, and when you need him to step aside and not be your hero because you need him to, you know, hold the space for you to be powerful and succeed. And really the only way to start that conversation is to admit that you've got this duality fighting inside of you, and it might not always make sense to him because it doesn't always make sense to you. Why should it make sense to him? And the only solution is to talk about it in a really real and vulnerable way.
And it's so funny because you have to talk about it, because the poor guys are never going to read our minds.
Yeah, no kidding.
They're never going to figure it out on their own. God bless them. Right?
Yeah, and I think
What, he doesn't know Princess Teresa's rule book for a good day?
How dare they not be psychic, you know?
Well, and that goes along to a big point that I want to make for women here is that we need to, you said about opening up and being vulnerable, but we also have to be willing to receive that support from others, whether it's our partner or other people in business. And it's getting that support because we're women. We can do it all. Darn it. We are powerful. We are able. We can do it all. But yet it doesn't mean we always should. And so I really, part of, one of my books, and I think one of the gifts that I've offered in this summit is the, are you open to receive? And that's the biggest block that I find in the women that I work with is that we're not open to receive. We're blocked energetically to allowing that support to come in. So I really want women to take a look at how can I let more support come into my life? How can I find the support to be able to do everything that I want to do in my life, my business, my family, my mommy, doing it all. We need that support.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
Whew. So, wow.
The conversation is happening.
Raise the roof.
Yeah. You love the chat board. It's so great.
I know. That's a good one. Well, and someone said, I can't remember which luminary it was, just to sort of bookend this. Here we go as entrepreneurs, pound, pound, pound all day. We've got our male energy, achievement, focus, at least I do, right? And then you've had a really powerful day, and then you sit down at the end of the day with your man to have dinner, and your woman is not there. Like, the woman is not there. It's a man with a man. And so it would really behoove us to balance out the energies, but also in business, as you were saying, Teresa, our authenticity is sort of a feminine characteristic. And I don't know, it's just, we have to have both sides in equal parts.
Well, and a lot of the habits of diving into high influence involve getting into our feminine energy. One of the key habits you see in highly influential people is they're masters at building relationships, specifically relationships with other influential people. Go figure. And who better at building relationships than women, especially when we're in our feminine energy? I love what Linda and Lynn were both saying earlier about, not having to do it all on your own, right? It's really what it comes down to is you can't make yourself influential. You need other people for that, right? I mean, I can stand here and say, look at me, I'm so great. I'm a 4-time best-selling author. I speak all over the world. You guys would be hitting mute and getting me off the call, right? And on the other hand, if I'm here going, oh my God, Linda Sarah, I love your show. I love everything you do. You're freaking brilliant. I love what you do for women entrepreneurs. Then I'm gracious, and in the act of doing that, I become more influential. By the way, Lynn, I love everything you teach too. That's what women do naturally, and we just need to learn to do more of it. The challenge for a lot of women is that we learned a rule book in the sandbox when we were in kindergarten about fairness, about how that interaction should play out. That doesn't work when you start dealing with the highly influential. In fact, a lot of the rules we learned when we were first networking, like it's a good idea to buy a colleague a coffee, offer to buy the CEO of a Fortune 500 company a coffee, and faster than you can say restraining order, you'll learn that the highly influential deal with a slightly different rule book, right? And so really it's just a matter of women entrepreneurs realizing that it is what they naturally do. They just got to learn a slightly different set of rules in order to get into that high influence.
Okay, that begs the question, Teresa. Give us the rules.
Give us the rules, sister.
Okay, well, let me give you one of the big ones. In fact, let me give you a big what not to do.
Excellent.
One of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of people make is what I would affectionately call the premature ask.
Yeah.
Everybody stops me and says, the premature what? The premature ask is the equivalent of you just meet the new neighbor, and the first thing they do is come over and say, I love that new car you have. I can't wait to borrow that baby. And you see this with influential people all the time, right? At networking functions, for example, the most influential people in the room are usually the host and the guest of honor. And you might see the guest of honor walk off stage, and I know you ladies have all experienced this being speakers. There'll be a lineup of 7 or 8 people there waiting to meet you. Half of them will want to buy you a coffee, and the other half of a CD, book, or product in hand to give you, right? And, you know, offering an influential person to buy them a coffee or give them your book or your CD is a lot like going to the new neighbor and saying, you are going to so love my kids, you're going to just really enjoy babysitting them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it might be true. Your kids might be awesome and the neighbors might love them. And it's not the thing you want to do when you first meet, right? We mentioned it briefly earlier, and I think we all know it intuitively, just like if you want to get respect, you give respect. If you want to get influence, you give influence. You want to kickstart a relationship with a highly influential people, offer them some form of influence. You know, shout out their events, endorse them, offer to recommend their book, get them a speaking gig. Those are ways that you give influence to others. And once, especially women entrepreneurs, once they get it, they're freaking unstoppable and will be highly influential very rapidly.
Well, and that's the whole paradigm of give to get, you know, in business. And that is how women do business. So, yes, great example.
And if I can piggyback on there as well, it's really about like the key tools that I see women using really, really well with that are when you're in that line to meet the speaker with your book in hand or whatever, it's like get curious, get related, you know, give an authentic acknowledgement of something that truly inspired you, that spoke to your heart, and then use some vulnerability to share from your heart with the speaker about how they influenced you, you know, what that influence meant. And then, yes, you can offer an extended invitation or let them know something you're up to. That's fine. Usually in those 2 minutes you don't have that much time. But I just want to highlight and underline the idea of acknowledgement and gratitude and curiosity and being, it's like that 80-20 rule. It's like be over there with them, curious about them at least 80% of the time and only 20% about, can I tell you about me? You know, because it's really not about us at all. It's really about none of us. So this whole thing is about something so much bigger than all of us, and we get to be these torchbearers that are carrying this light into the world because that's what's coming through us to offer and to give. So when you see another spark in another person, get curious and be like, ooh, what's that spark? How does that live for you? And how can I help it shine brighter?
Yeah, I love that. That's brilliant, Sarah. It's, you know, put the book away. There's nothing to hurry up and do. You don't need to be desperate. If you build relationships effectively, trust me, if you bring the new neighbor a lasagna, they want to have dinner with you a week down the road. You can give them your book later when the relationship has been built. I love what you say. Stand in gratitude, stand in curiosity. The biggest thing you should be curious about is how can you help them?
Absolutely.
When you get that fundamental principle, influence flows to you very rapidly.
Now, I want to play devil's advocate here for a minute, ladies, because we all know that women have a tendency to overgive. And this translates in business as undercharging. What you're laughing, Lynn, undercharging or having sessions go too long or giving away services. So I'm going to throw that out there. How do you balance this, oh, let me focus on you to be of influence versus let me stand in my value?
I love that question because influence is way easier to give away than services are. You know, it takes 1 minute to shout someone out on Facebook. It takes 30 seconds to connect them with another influential people or recommend them to someone who has a stage saying, I just saw this person speak, you should book them on your stage, they're awesome. Those things take 1 minute and actually have far higher value to the influential person than offering them your service for an hour. So stop giving it away for free. You don't need to do that. Give influence to get influence. It's much more economical on you and much more impactful for the influential person.
I love that distinction of give influence to get influence. Like that frame really elevates and it makes the statement ring with a greater truth than just the give to get, because the give to get by itself feels like it's like those card sharks at networking events where they're like, oh, can I get your card? Here's mine. And then they like immediately move to the next group of people to schmooze. And it's just like you feel kind of slimed. Where it's like, I'm talking to you so that I can get something from you. But what I really love and underline in what you're saying is it's that you're giving influence and eventually it will turn back around, you know, and it will actually have miraculous results. So it's like you're actually opening up to having greater influence in ways you couldn't have imagined had you tried to just use your brain to make a plan and get influence. You know?
I know. I so love what you ladies teach because it so underlines the influence game, right? Like, you can tell if somebody's just asking for your card to put you in a database or sign you up for their newsletter. It feels inauthentic. It feels schmarmy. It's stopping them from becoming influential. Absolutely. Don't do it already. Don't give your card out unless somebody asks for it.
Well, I find this really interesting because in the work that I do with women, you know, and I see this, women are such givers, and we overgive, but yet for some reason when we go to these networking events, it's like we automatically just assume we have to be in that masculine, and we've got to, you know, direct, and you know, like force things, versus really being in our natural, authentic, relating feminine. And so I find it interesting that we kind of just, I think, you know, we've just been conditioned or whatever that that's the way you're supposed to be in these networking events versus just being our authentic, you know, caring, helpful selves.
Beautiful.
And, you know, just by putting other people first, we need to continue to remember to do that in our businesses and in our networking.
Yeah. I love what you teach, Lynn, because the feminine power is so much more powerful inside the influence game. It really is.
Yeah.
All right. So if I may, I'm gonna. We have a list of questions here. I'm gonna just grab one that shifts it a little bit. So, ladies, think of a story. Think of a time in your business development, because this is so. Talk about authenticity. When you wanted to walk away, when it was really tough. Gee, none of us have had that, right?
Never.
You mean like 8 a.m. this morning?
Can I just say last week?
How about, so what did you do? How do you get through it? You know, this is a conference about spirit, money, impact. They're all interwoven. Just run with that open-ended question.
Yeah. I'm going to let Lynn go first this time because I'm going to hide in the mic. So.
I also just want to preface this that I may have to bug out of here, guys, soon. So I'm actually at a conference and we're leaving to go, and I'm waiting for a text. So I would love to answer this first, Teresa. So, you know, I have to say that this journey of the entrepreneurial world is the greatest growth opportunity for me personally. And I have to say, it's all about really finding your authentic voice. And I tell you, the universe tells you when you are not authentic and you're not hitting it on the head. And so I have had a very challenging year. What worked for me last year is not working for me this year. And so it's just, you know, while, yes, it's frustrating and I want to bang my head up against the wall, but I don't, because I sit back, I step back, and I say, okay, what really wants to happen here for me?
Yeah.
What really wants to come through. And when we get to those blocks or the disappointments, or, you know, things don't go the way we really expected them to, it's an opportunity for me to go, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to grow here? And what needs to happen within me to move my business forward next? And so I look at everything that happens to me in my life as an opportunity for me to grow more internally, and to shift my energy, shift my way of being in the world, and just call into spirit and say, what needs to happen? What wants to come through me? And let's go in that direction. Let's give this a try. You know, I love that idea of spaghetti marketing. You know, like, let's throw it against the wall and see what sticks, because what's sticking last year is not working this year. So we're always evolving, right?
We are, and yes, I mean, let's just be straight. I've had those years also, and at one point I said to my coach and mentor, I said, you know what, this is the most important year of my business. This is the best year of my business. And I said, it's not because of the income. She said, it's because of the inner growth. I said, exactly. And, you know, so we have those times, and as entrepreneurs, we just, to me, have to stay aligned with our purpose, our higher power, however that occurs, and just know that we are successful, we will be successful, we'll have the impact and the income that we deserve, but it's not easy. It is not easy.
Well, and that's, I think, such a good myth that we think, oh, it's going to be easy. It's like, I don't think anyone has ever said growing a business would be easy, and most of us get into the business because there's a calling, right, of some kind that we're like, I have a calling, I need to fulfill this. Now, how can it be easy is a nice
That's a good question.
I do like to give myself, because oftentimes when I'm making it extra super hard, or I'm really getting into my analytical mind, and I find that I'm just like busy, 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 working, 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 and I'm exhausted at the end of the day, and then I look back on the day and I'm like, well, what did I actually achieve? It's like, oh, something's a little out of alignment, you know, and I think that there's a blend of exactly what you said, Lynn, of like really opening up and surrendering to spirit is where I start. I start with connecting to spirit and letting that inspiration come through, but then I also really get clear in my heart, in my soul, so that when I am out in the world, I can talk about what I'm up to. I can clearly say, here's the impact I'm here to have in the world. Don't know exactly the form it's going to take, or here's one form that it takes right now is through this particular program. But so it's like having something you can get out of your mouth to speak about what you're up to and say it to people that actually need what you're up to, like what Teresa was saying, is like solve a big problem. It's like having the clarity of knowing what problem you're here to be a part of the solution for, and then speaking to the people that need that solution and getting yourself into the mix with those people. These are really important steps to be an entrepreneur. And of course, as my coach has always said, it's like you need to be doing what I call income generating activities. So it's like every day I need to be in a conversation of some kind with someone who can use my services. When you're building a business, you need to make offers or be an offering of your services to people. And that really doesn't have to be difficult. It's happened in the most magical ways. I'll just give one quick example, and then I want to hear Teresa's answer to this question for you, Linda. But I have had the most profound clients come from just doing creative work in the cafe. Like I like to do a lot of my blog writing and stuff just being in the cafe. I get that ambient noise around me and I just kind of get into a zone with it. And numerous times I will just be on my computer writing, minding my own business, and I will have someone approach me and be like, who are you? What are you doing? And I'll be like, oh, I'm a coach and here's what I do. I work with women entrepreneurs. And they'll say, I need to talk to you. You know, or I once complimented a woman for singing the song. There was a really funky song playing on the overhead speaker, and we both just kind of had that moment where we looked across the room and we sang the chorus with each other. And I don't know who that woman was, but we ended up doing work together just because we had that moment where we both connected about something that had nothing to do with my business, but it brought us, it was like, oh, there's something in this person I'm supposed to know, and she knew she was supposed to know me, and then it ended up being that we worked together. So there's a few pieces there.
So Teresa, thank you, Sarah, did you have anything on when you wanted to walk away and how you got through?
Bring us back. You know, because the reality is courage is never tidy.
No.
I love it that Hollywood is finally showing realistic heroes, and that you know, the action hero is no longer neat and rolling through the bullets without scathing, you know. And you know, entrepreneurship, it takes courage, right? You know, especially, let me shout out to my fellow single women and single moms out there, because when you don't have a safety net and inner steel to stand in the heat and run your own business, you know, and especially, you know, now my team's like 14 people now. If I screw up, not only am I not paying the bills, but I've got, you know, 14 other people that are relying on me for my livelihood. So there are moments that it gets scary. And the reality is, the easiest thing I do to get through it is I just got to remind myself daily that I'm not running the show. Universe is breathing life into something through me, and when I give up the ego of I got to know all the answers, I got to be the one in control, oh my God, I got to run this ship, and when I can relax and give that up and just know that, you know, the universe has a plan for me, and when I surrender to the plan, my business works.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful questions I ask myself on a routine basis when I feel myself overwhelmed or freaked out or terrified, which, trust me, happens frequently, I breathe into it and I just ask, you know, my inner guides, what's next? And they always give me clarity of answer, and it always propels me forward rapidly.
Oh, thank you, Teresa. I just want to know that Lynn needs to say goodbye.
Say goodbye.
Thank you so much for being with us, Lynn. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Yeah.
Safe travels. Have a great adventure.
Guys. Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And I thank you for bringing it back to surrender, Teresa, because I feel like the difference between, well, I guess this is it. There's this idea that we often get caught up in, that we'll reach some level of success and then it'll all be easy from there. And the truth is, we're in this business of transformation by transforming ourselves. And this last year for me has been one of surrender, like absolute running my business from pure surrender, because my mom passed away last year and it devastated me. And there was no part of me that was wanting to get up and go out every day and start networking and pushing my card in front of people. I just said, Spirit, I need support. I need to allow myself to be completely in my grief until I'm not grieving anymore, or until I can get back up and have some inspiration. And that one simple, not so simple, but that one, I guess, courageous act of surrender helped me align with something so much greater. And so I just want to encourage people to really find your place of surrender and allowing life to truly support you. That, you know, like right now we're in this earth element that, like, we are being supported literally by the earth through gravity. And it's like we really can count on spirit and the earth to support us to move through, and we just have to kind of get out of our way in our heads so that we can hear that beautiful voice that's really calling us forward. So thanks for bringing it back to me.
I love that you shared that. I lost my mother just over a year ago.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's neat because, you know, she and I were very close. She was 94 when she passed.
Wow.
And she was just an amazing lady. A lot of, you know, my best traits I got from her. And it's neat because, you know, when you can surrender to it, and I'm not diminishing anybody's grieving process, because losing a parent is really one of the toughest kicks in the stomach you can have.
Yeah.
And at the same time, now I talk to her and Dad actually every day, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, they've become part of my inner guides. When I ask what's next, they're often there with me,
Yes.
cheering me on like they never did when they were alive, because their highest self, right?
Yeah.
So it's neat how that can transition for you as you move through the bumps of life, you know. I love what Landmark teaches, that breakthrough lies on the other side of breakdown.
Absolutely.
Breakdowns before breakthroes. That's
right.
Yep.
So
And when you really get that, when you really get that, you start to love the hard.
Yeah.
And you surrender and relax into it.
Yeah, you don't take it so seriously. You know it's a necessary phase.
Yeah.
So speaking of the hard times, what do you ladies, you know, this classic question, what do you wish you knew then? What do you know now that you wish you knew back then? You know, I just feel like so many women entrepreneurs are toiling away so low, pushing themselves very hard. And so what bits of advice could you give? I mean, we're on the other side. We have success, you know, whatever you want to call it. What's your piece of advice that you wish you'd known?
Oh, you know, I think my biggest would be really, like, go after your dreams now. If you've got an inner dialogue that says, someday I will, when I'm influential enough, when I have enough money, when I'm big enough, after I achieve such and such, then I will. When you hear yourself saying that, notice it. Because sometimes the big dream is actually the easiest thing for you to do. Your dreams are scarier to you than anyone else on the planet, because they're your dreams, right? And our dreams are like, it's my dream, it's freaking huge. And yet you've been hardwired to be better than anyone else on this planet to do it, because no one else is going to be more passionate about you. Nobody has more drive toward it. You know, in fact, you know, when I talked about creating the Evolutionary Business Council, you know, it's funny because I teach people, pursue your dreams, don't procrastinate. And I kept finding myself saying, someday when I'm influential enough, I'm going to create a community of thought leaders and emerging thought leaders from all over the world so they can really support each other. And fortunately, I hang out with the kind of people that would start sitting me down and saying, Teresa, you know, you teach people to watch what you say someday. And when are you going to do that already? And by the way, don't you realize you've already built it? You've got this huge community you're helping and assisting and collaborating. Why don't you give it a name already? And it was actually out of that intervention that the Evolutionary Business Council was born, and it is the best thing I ever did because, you know, with a group of amazing people around you, how could you fail?
How could you fail? Exactly.
There's no ball I could drop that there aren't a dozen amazing people there who've got my back to help me and forgive me and help me move forward, you know. And so all I would say is, you know, living the life of your dreams takes action. Otherwise, you're just dreaming.
Yeah, that's a good
That's
point.
right. Amen. And thank you for that. You're so articulate. I'm kind of like, I want to write down every single thing you're saying. Thank God we have recordings, right?
Sarah, I don't know if we've lost your face or if we've just lost your image on my screen, but there you are.
I had to move. I'm doing. It's been a behind the scenes moment here. I'm going to peel away the curtain. I've had major construction outside of the window. And then I've had power nearly going away. So I've moved across the room and I'm re-plugged in. There I am.
Great.
Linda, I'd love to hear your answer to this question. What do you know now that you wish you knew then?
You know, I think, thank you for asking that, Sarah. I think the answer is that, that you can't skip steps. Just because I'm bright and talented, just because you, dear entrepreneur, are bright and talented and passionate and so skilled, you still just take the steps, and there's no magic pill, and that's okay. Like I've been groomed my whole life that I was, you know, stellar and could do anything, and so you think it's going to be easy, and I've just hit some real road bumps, and it's okay. It's all okay. So like, don't take them seriously. It doesn't mean. I guess my point is, when you hit the speed bumps, it doesn't mean the dream isn't possible. It doesn't mean you're not going to get there. It means you hit a speed bump. That's it. Right?
I love that.
I love that. It's the meaning we make it. And it really harkens back to the idea that Teresa was saying of, like, you know, in order to grow yourself as a leader, as an entrepreneur, you have to get outside of your comfort zone. And that will require that you stretch into things that you don't know how to do. And so the only way, it's like once we go beyond that comfort zone, which I call the grown zone, and you can spell it like G-R-O-A-N, like, oh, I'm stretching into this, or you can call it the grown zone, just G-R-O-W-N, where it grows you, because that's, to me, like, why we're entrepreneurs is because we're here to grow ourselves in a new direction and take big risks and fail powerfully and beautifully and weakly in any way we can. Just be like, wow, that's what happens when I jump, you know? And so it's like to have more fun with the edges and the risks, I think, is the key, and to take incredible care of yourself while you're doing it. And that's something I see, you know, both of you modeling beautifully, and a lot of our speakers. It's like we speak a lot about self-care, and I think it's just so perfect. You know, it's just like you've got to have a you here in order for there to be a business here. So when we really take care of ourselves, mind, body, spirit, then we can be so much more available for the work that's coming through us, and we'll be so much more resilient to take those huge leaps of faith and master that influence that Teresa's talking about.
Thank you, lady. Those are just such great lessons. Thank you. Teresa, I would love to hear, as we sort of wind down this event, about your Evolutionary Business Council, because nothing represents what Sarah and I are standing for more than something like that. So, absolutely. A revolution, spirit, money, impact, and you are gathering these people together. So, can you tell us a little about the EBC?
You know, it's the funnest, most wonderful thing I've ever done, and it terrified me at first, really, to set it up, because, you know, my inner dialogue, being the youngest of a really big Northern Canadian family, my inner dialogue is always, I'm too small to play with the big kids, right? And really what it is the community of the most amazing people. It's people who are pushing out new ideas and new thinking, who are doing it in an influential manner, like a one-to-many business model. And what they do is they really contribute to supporting each other and getting each other's messages out. So it's a large collaborative entity of people who are teaching transformational principles all over the world. It's pretty amazing to see what they achieve when they all get behind something. It's very cool.
So, and how long has it been in existence?
It's been in existence about 5 years now.
Okay, okay, great. And if people wanted to find out more about that,
they can go to ebcouncil.com.
Okay, okay, great.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
You're going to get a flood of people.
Yay!
And so what is your vision, Teresa and Sarah, for your own companies? What are you birthing into the world, in addition to EBC and your Mass Influence book, Teresa, but also, Sarah, I know you've got some amazing things going on. So let's end this with your big vision of what's coming.
Wow, talking about evolution, my business is evolving. I like I said, when my mom passed away, I blew my entire business model up, and I've been in a place of total inquiry, and it's been a beautiful unfolding. But I'm seeing the need to have this kind of collaboration, this kind of conversation that we're forwarding today needs to live in regular practice. A long time ago I learned the combination integrator learning that helps you retain information up to 80% more. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
It is 10-7-24. I think that 10-24-7. That's it. 10-24-7. So if you review material or you listen to the key points or review the key points of anything you're learning for 10 minutes a day over a period of 7 days, every 24 hours, the level of retention and remembering what you're up to and like what you've learned is you'll increase your retention by 80%. So with that thought, I'm really interested to keep the channels of this conversation open, to be a powerful place to support women entrepreneurs in the world, to not just think about running a business, but to actually put it into manifestation, to put it into action and then get it done. So my upcoming events that you'll be hearing about will be, I have a 90-day program that is a mastermind group that brings women together to get their biggest client attraction projects complete, to get their webinars, to write their books, to get the ebooks done. I'm not teaching new systems because I think there's a lot of new systems that are out there. I think a lot of women get an influx of information and then they get stalled and they don't get into action. So that's what my mastermind groups are about. And whether it's mine or whether it's someone else's, I would not be who I am today without my mastermind group. And many of the women we featured on this event have been from the different masterminds that I play in and the different JV groups that I play in. So I invite everyone listening and watching us to find a group to mastermind and support you, a group of like-minded women that are going to lift you up to your highest and get you into action.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Teresa, what's next for you? Not like you don't have enough going on in terms of the book and the EBC, but what do you next phase?
The main reason I wrote this book is my personal goal, and which has now become the goal of the EBC, is the transformational principles will hit 1.2 billion people on this planet by the year 2020.
Oh, yes.
And we stand in that with the specific goal to say we're intending to grow 1,200 thought leaders to each reach 1 million people. And we pick that 1.2 billion number very intentionally because that represents 15% of the global population in the year 2020, which from mass communication theory would be the tipping point for humanity as a whole. And so our goal is to not only reach the English-speaking emerging thought leaders out there, but to figure out how do we find the emerging thought leaders in other cultures and other languages and support them and getting transformational principles out to their communities and their cultures. So we're going to have a fun ride in the next 5 years. I'm really looking forward to it.
Wow, sign me up, Teresa.
You got it. Consider yourself invited. I would love to see you ladies in
that's
the UBC.
Absolutely. And Linda, how about for you? What's next for you?
So, yes, so the Women's Wealth Revolution is alive and well, and I've been in the internet space for a couple of years and just recently have taken this stuff into live events. And so I foresee, we're about to do our third live event. We gather hundreds of women at a time to provide information, inspiration, and just plain old transformation. So I see rolling this out across the country in the next couple of years, because I think we're craving that face-to-face connection. So that's what's coming through my little portal, and more collaboration, and who knows what, right? I mean, we can sit here and predict what we're going to do 6 to 12 months, but the world is changing so fast in such miraculous ways with amazing thought leaders like you all and those who are listening that we'll just strap in and say, I'm ready, let's go.
So thank you, and I just want to thank both of you for being here, and Lynn for joining us earlier, and all of the speakers that have been a part of the Women's Wealth Revolution event, the Spirit Money Impact. We know that this is going to continue. We've got a fabulous masterclass next week to really integrate some of what we've learned here. That'll be at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern on the 24th. And of course, you can get the Women's Wealth Kit to listen to all of the audios in your own audio library. And that's at thewomenswealthrevolution.com/upgrade. Upgrades or upgrade?
Upgrade, right.
Upgrade singular. There we go. Anything else, Linda?
No, I think we're at the top of the hour. So, Teresa, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Just a rock star.
Joy. Thank you.
And thank you, Sarah, for playing in the sandbox with us.
And thank everybody for being a part of the Women's Wealth Revolution. Keep it alive in your life and let us know what's inspiring you as a revolutionary woman in this world.
Amen. Signing out now. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.